has it happened to you recently that you look at the world outside of this room and you wonder, are people actually getting more stupid? In the way they relate to big events, in the way you see them on social media, in the way they understand politics. Sometimes I think maybe just my idea. But then I go and check the facts. And I saw in the research that I had to double check 3 times because initially I didn't believe it. That 1 in 5 people believe that the Earth is either flat or it might be flat. This is from the United States. And also, something close to 20% of people who are either 100% sure or they consider it quite possible that when we got the vaccine, we also got a chip in our brain to control us. Very, very, very weird stuff. But the thing is, it shouldn't be that way. We should be living in a time where we would get not more stupid, but the opposite. Because if you think about it, knowledge was never so easy to get. It's literally 2 clicks away from your phone. And if you're too lazy to Google it, you can go to ChatGPT these days and you can basically find out everything about any topic under the sun. And the leftists will usually say, oh, the problem is we need more education. So we need to give more money to education. But again, if you see the facts, our expenditures on education keep going up and up and up. And it looks like the more education we have, the less critical thinking we have. So it's not that we need quote education. And the third possible theory is it that literally our IQ is going down, like our brain becomes stupid? And again, the answer is no. Every piece of research shows that as time goes by, our IQ, whatever that means, goes up. They've even given a name to this. It's called the Flynn effect. So the fact that we live in such a time, and it looks like so many people out there have so weird, to put it mildly, opinions, is a mystery. Now, we could say, who cares? Some people are stupid, let them be stupid, we go on with their lives. Well, it's not so simple, because there's a second trend which is going on, which is as people are becoming more and more, let's put it unthinking, they also become more and more personally invested in politics. Which means that now, your way of weird thinking has an impact on me. What do I mean people get more and more personally invested in politics? Have you got Tinder in this country? Yes. Okay. In the UK, you spend like 5 minutes on Tinder, and half of the profiles include things like, if you voted for the Tories, that's a Conservative party, swipe left, don't even bother. Or if you're a Brexiteer, just forget it. Or I've recently seen people proclaiming that they are unvaccinated, so they have superior sperm. Or what? Well, yeah. It's a whole thing. Go to Twitter and put unvaccinated sperm, and probably that's not what you needed to hear at 10 in the morning. But or again, you check some research and you see 1 in 5 people in the United States broke up with a relationship or with a close friend or a family member because of how they voted in 2016. And 1 in 7 people broke a relationship again or a friend based on how they think about the vaccine. And this is also a mystery, that people get so passionate about politics, because we who care, who understand freedom, we look at the left and the right and we wonder, what are you guys fighting about? You're basically the same on every big issue. Like, what do they really disagree on? They both agree on public, education should be public. Now, the right might allow like 2% more freedom in education. They agree on taxation. They just disagree, like the left wants 38% income tax, and then the right says, no, that's too much, we are for freedom. So we don't want 38, we want 34%. Like, that's the big difference. Or in the UK, the Labour Party says, we want to ban non-electric cars by the year 2040. And then the right says, no, that's like green lunacy, we'll ban them at 2045. So that's a second mystery. Why are people getting so fired up with political division, where political division today means less than it ever did? Like, imagine political division like 50, 60 years ago. Like, I'm a communist, you're a fascist. Like, this is real life or death stuff. Today, all this is gone. And yet today, people are more and more crazy about politics. So we have two mysteries which I think have the same solution. The mystery on how we get more, quote, stupid, and how we get more caught up in politics, I think they have the same solution. And that solution is not to be found on the level of politics. It starts from here. It starts from how people view the world. And there are two ways to view the world: the right way and the wrong way. Today, the most prevalent one is the wrong way. And the wrong way says, I will view the world based on how my team views the world, how my group views the world, how my tribe views the world. And that's what I call tribalism. Let me give you some examples. So it means that me judging what is happening out there, my criteria is not reality. My criteria is what is the party line. So, let me give you some examples. Do you remember Barack Obama? Towards the end of his tenure, Barack Obama visited Cuba. He was the first American president to go to a visit in Cuba. And he shook the hand of Raul Castro, the dictator of Cuba, the brother of Fidel Castro. The reaction by the conservatives in the United States was, this is treason. This is a shame. An American president shaking the hand of a dictator. You should be the leader of the free world. This is disgusting. I mean, I don't blame them. That makes sense. 2 years later, Donald Trump is president. Donald Trump goes to South Korea, and he goes to the borders, and he meets Kim Jong-un, the strongman, the dictator of North Korea. And they have this bromance, they shake hands, they do this kind of romantic walks. How do conservatives react to that? These guys like the new Clausewitz. This is 4D chess. This is brilliant diplomacy. Trump is like the best thing has ever happened. Exactly the same situation. Exactly the same situation. An American president goes and meets a communist dictator. 2 years apart, the one from the other, the way they react to it, completely different. Based on, is this our guy, or is this a guy from the other group? Let me give another example. Do you remember how conservatives used the vaccines when Trump was president? When he had Operation Warpath? Like, this was supposed to be like the biggest, the most important process that would take us out of the pandemic. They were like, we're so lucky to have this guy as president. He's going to put the vaccines in our shoulders as soon as possible. And remember that at the same time, that there were some Democrats that would say, I'm not going to trust the vaccine that comes from Trump administration. This guy is not good for everything. This is not tested. Fast forward, we have the elections. Trump loses. Now Biden is the president. And they flip 120. Now conservatives say, I want nothing to do with this vaccine. This is like a psyop by Big Pharma and by Fauci. And Democrats are now saying, if you don't take the vaccine, you're a horrible person. Again, we have exactly the same situation, but based on which team is in power, we have completely different approach. So again, our criteria is not what is happening out there. Our criteria is what is the party line, what is the group line. But recently I've seen an even worse trend. I call this Tribalism 2.0, in which you don't check what your group is saying in order to make up your mind on something. You check what the group that you hate believes, and you believe the exact opposite. Example, the war in Ukraine. How do many on the American right, and sorry if it's among you, some libertarians view this topic, they say, who is our enemy? The woke. What is the woke's take on Ukraine? Because the woke loves Zelensky and hate Putin, we will hate Zelensky and we're going to be apologetic for Putin. Like, this is the worst type of tribalism. Because now you think based on what are the people who you hate think, and you think the opposite. So you substitute your judgment with the judgment of the people who you despise. That's the only reason I find why so many in the right have this take on the Ukrainian and Russian war. That they say the worst thing that is happening in the world today is wokeness, therefore whatever is against wokeness, I'm for it. This is like tribalism in steroids. And with tribalism, we also understand the left-right divide. Remember what we said earlier. We know that left and right are basically the same. But why do they get so much caught up in this conflict? Because for them, this conflict is not an ideological conflict. It's an us versus them conflict. And this is how you can explain that left and right keep changing so much, and yet the tribes are still there. Like, remember there was a time that the right was for free trade. Not anymore. Remember the time that the left was for economic progress. And today they're telling you that if you have a plastic straw, you have too much of a bad impact on the environment. So the right has changed a lot, the left has changed a lot, but because they have this kind of us versus them dynamic, they can still understand themselves as being in opposition to each other. This is what feeds them. And this is why we get today the political landscape we have. And this is why identity politics is the only game in town. Identity politics means I see myself as an avatar of my group. How many times have we heard people saying, as a woman, I believe X. As a black person, I believe X. As an LGBT person, I believe X. But what does this really mean? What does it mean, as a man, I think X? I don't think with my penis. I should be thinking with my mind. But we've been so much trained to see ourselves as a member of a group that now we've fallen into this identitarianism, which sooner or later is going to make us, or whoever falls on it, racist. Like, this is literally racist. Viewing myself as part of, like, my identity group or as part of my race. Remember the summer of 2020 with the Black Lives Matter protests? You would have supposedly anti-racist, like, big companies and stuff sending you messages, at least that was in the UK, with like Uber Eats, which would say, go to these particular shops because they are owned by people of color. It's like, that's weird. That's very weird. That we consider it a great progress, that we define and we divide, like, shop owners based on what race they're on. Like, this should ring bells and this should raise red flags. And yet it doesn't, because that's how we are taught to think. And here's what it gets particularly creepy for us who care about the ideas of freedom. Tribalism is the best gateway drug to authoritarianism. In an environment of tribalism, sooner or later, everyone's going to become a collective. Here's why. Remember what we said tribalism is. I think based on my group. I view the world and myself as first and foremost part of a group. But a group cannot think. So a group needs what? A leader to tell the group how to think. If you want to live for Mother Russia, you need someone to tell you what is good for Mother Russia. If you want to live for the white race or for the proletariat, you need someone to tell you what is good for the white race or for the proletariat. In other words, tribalism needs a Führer, a Stalin, or a Putin. And once you've accepted that, yeah, the group is more important than me, then you have accepted that your life should be at the service of the group. I mean, think about it. How many times in history we've had tragedies that would never have happened if people would say, the hell with this, like, why does this have to do with me? First World War would never have happened if people would ask, why should I go and fight the French or the German? Like, what's in it for me? But because the idea is, well, you're a German, you're a French, and your group is more important than you, then these people go and become cannon fodder. So tribalism, the tribalist, is the best cannon fodder for any authoritarian. So this is not just a discussion like, oh, the world is becoming stupid. No, for us, this has a huge importance. Because this is why you see out there a new generation of nationalists, of racists, progressive racists or all type of racists, and a new generation of communists. And it's just going to get worse. So how do we fight this? That's the last important question. We see something out there happening which is A, destructive for people's mind, but sooner or later it's going to be destructive for us. How do we fight it? Well, the first thing is we need to understand it. And many people get the wrong understanding of tribalism. They say, well, we need a bit of tribalism. Because they confuse tribalism with having friends or having a community. A community is completely different. A community is, I have similar values with some people, and we come together to achieve something. Tribalism is not that. Tribalism is, I am part of this group, and therefore now I'll follow that group one way or the other. So why tribalism is so big today? And the answer is, just think about what have been the most prominent ideas in the world out there in the last decades. How many times have we heard, well, we don't really have a free will. Free will is an illusion. How many times have you heard, well, there is no such thing as the truth? Or that truth is, Eurocentric, or, we have different truths. Or how many times have you heard that, well, the world out there cannot really make sense? Or how many times have you heard, even among good people, that reason is an illusion? Like, you cannot be sure about anything. Now, put all these things together. My mind is impotent, because there is no reason. I haven't got free will. So basically, who knows who is the puppet master? There is no such thing as the truth. Therefore, anything goes. You put all these things together, and now the world looks a very scary place. It's like you're in a, how do they call these ghost houses that you open the door and you don't know what's behind, there are like mirrors and stuff. Like the world becomes this scary place. And you're alone in this world without your navigating instrument, your mind. And this is scary. To me, it reminds that painting, how it's from art. This guy was like, the Scream, the Munch, yeah. The Scream by Munch. This is the world we found ourselves in. And this also creates fear, right? Now the world is scary. What's the only way then to navigate this scary world? You cling to other people who are also scared. And it's mostly the people who look like us, like white and white, other white people, or you're a woman, other women. And this is how you get to tribalism. Tribalism is like the blinds coming together, trying to find some direction. And then the leader comes and says, I will direct you. And then, of course, if we've all agreed that there is no truth, then every group has its own truth. Every group has its own truth. This is why you can say, people say, well, the way I see it, like I feel that, America is institutionally racist. You say, what do you mean? Like there was a black president, there's affirmative action, like every Hollywood film has like diversity quotas. Like, have you got any proof that it's institutionally racist? Like, well, as a black person, I feel it is. Or you go to Republicans and they say, we feel that the election in 2020 was stolen. Okay, is there any evidence? Have you got something to show me? Well, we feel it. It's like the truth of the group. And this is how you end up with a Tower of Babel. 50 different groups, we all believe different things. There's no way to figure out who's right and who's wrong, right? Because we don't talk the same language. We don't agree that there is a common reality out there. And this is why you have the chaos that we find ourselves in today. So, what's the way out of this? What's the only possible solution? There are many bad solutions, and there's only one good solution. The bad solutions that people say is, well, we need to compromise more. We need to kind of find ourselves in the middle, which is weird. Like, what does that mean? Like, you believe something crazy, I believe something crazy. What do we find in the middle? Like, so for me, there's only one possible idea. Remember, this problem starts from here, from the way we think. So the solution has to start from there, from the way we think. So the only possible solution to tribalism is a very simple one, but also a very difficult one. And this is independent thinking. Independent thinking means I take responsibility for my own life. And you cannot have freedom if you don't start from saying, yeah, it's my life, I can live it. I take the responsibility for my life. And this is difficult. Because it's very easy to be wrong. It requires effort to relate to truth. Like Alex Jones thinks he's an independent thinker, right? It's like, hey, I believe the opposite things from what Fauci believes, therefore I might be into something. So being an independent thinker is very difficult. But it's also very rewarding. Because then you live life based on your standards, based on the things that you like, based on your passions, based on your values. You don't live life of someone else. Tribalism is basically, I live the life of someone else. I live by the values of someone else. I live by the worldview of someone else. And I know, because I was a tribalist. I was a card-carrying member of the Communist Party in Greece in a previous life. Not that long ago. And it was a crappy life. Like, let me give you some examples. If you're a communist, you have to hang out at particular places. Like, I might like a club by the beach. The idea is, no, this is like only for the rich kids. We don't go there. But yeah, it's too bourgeois. Or you had to listen to a particular type of music. I didn't like that music. Or we had to watch intellectual movies. So I would watch like French cinema. I wouldn't understand shit. And then I was like, oh man, what? Like, but something inside me was saying me, what are you doing? That's not you. But this is how tribalism poisons you. It's like, oh, I have to do this because I have to be loyal to, I don't know, the group or the proletariat. So being an independent thinker means I'm gonna live life as my own, and I'm gonna live it as its fullest. Which is why, by the way, I like so much Ayn Rand books. Because you see in the books, you see heroes who are like larger than life. But the one thing they all have in common is they view the world through their own eyes. They view the world as independent thinker. And if you see at history, every person who has changed history has been an independent thinker. Think about Galileo. Everyone tells him, you have to think in a particular way. He says, no, I'm not going to think like that. Think of Rosa Parks. Everyone tells her, you have to sit at the back of the bus. He says, no, this doesn't make sense to me. Or think of Steve Jobs. He views the world through his own eyes, and he says, your technology sucks. I have a better idea. Me against the world. And that's how he changed the world. So don't let anyone tell you that, oh, if you're an independent person, an independent thinker, you're going to be this isolated loner, and you're going to have a loser's life, and to quote Jordan Peterson, you have to live for something bigger than yourself. No. You live your own life, and this is the only way to live life. So let's live a life that is ours, and while we do so, this is the starting process of making the world a better and a freer place. How we do that? The talk at 2 o'clock. Thank you.